Okay, we are live. Clicking on a variety of links here. Okay, welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for joining us here for Beyond the CMS, a podcast, video cast, where we discuss everything to do with content management, CMSs, and we've got the idea from the original Car Guys show where people could call in and ask us anything, and we'll do our best to give great answers. And we have a special guest today from Dotfusion, Janice Lee, who is our customer success lead here. Janice, welcome. Thanks for making some time to join the show. It's a pleasure to have you here. Do you want to just tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm the partner that looks after growth and customer success at Dotfusion. What that means is I'm responsible for making sure all the accounts are moving smoothly, thinking about growth opportunities for them, always looking for ways to kind of like elevate our service levels, but also help. I like to say I'm a bit of a digital translator as well, because I work with a lot of our marketing folks and clients, and just to making sure that we're bridging the conversations between our technical teams and the marketing teams, and basically showing them like how certain things can really help with their brand initiatives.
Super cool. And today we're really, we got a little thing here that just got a little pop-up here. One thing we do is monitor the social channels. So if anyone has any questions, I'll be looking frequently over to the side to make sure that we answer any of those questions. And today we're going to talk about how AI is impacting content strategy, kind of across three main themes: on websites themselves, for our customers and the authors and the folks that are using different content management tools. And then if we have time, talk a little bit about the impact that it's had on our team in general. Janice, do you want to maybe kick things off? And let's start with kind of a customer lens and talk a little bit about what you've seen over really the past 6 months on how AI is impacting customers. And we've got kind of AI terminology and agents and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I think it could be a little bit overwhelming and like even for myself, confusing in the beginning when you're just getting into it. Everyone is just, the buzzword of the day is AI. Then you're hearing about agents, can be a little confusing. So to me, it was really helpful to kind of break it down with an analogy. I think from a marketing perspective, what's important to know is around like, you've heard of generative AI. So everybody's probably used ChatGPT once or Claude or whatever whatever tooling they're most comfortable with, Gemini, Copilot, things like that. And then there's the agents, which is it's different, but based on AI. So I kind of use the analogy that generative AI is like a creative freelancer. You give it a brief, you have it write some amazing copy, or a campaign, and it does that super fast. But once it's completed its task, it's gone. Mm-hmm. Like it's done. With agents, what you're talking about here is it's like having that creative freelancer, but super powered. So imagine you have a very dedicated customer service account executive working on your campaign. Not only do they make sure all the content is great, but then they're also helping you manage your budgets, looking after your campaigns, doing work in the background autonomously without you necessarily having to prompt them. And so that's kind of like the evolution, and where I think most people are at today, or at least from a marketing standpoint, they're probably more thinking of AI as the generative AI, which is great for individual productivity. But what we're looking to forward thinking is how can agents also help marketers and our clients out there?
Yeah, and I have an example actually of what an agent looks like. I'll try out this screen sharing idea here. This is one of our agents. This is one that helps us with our marketing and our outreach, for example. And what you're seeing on the screen is a sequence of events that different agents activate and deploy. And there's AI involved in this process. And we can get into more detail on the demo day sometime, but essentially there's a daily trigger at 8 that goes out and kind of takes a list of leads. It runs kind of an AI generated prompt, validates it, goes through an editorial workflow, and then kind of sends out an email. this is also something that we're starting to integrate into content platforms. And it might be a great time to discuss how AI is impacting authoring journeys and helping to, what we're seeing is that one of the, not challenges, but maybe opportunities in streamlining content production and workflow is to help authors manage the environments that they're creating their content in. And most of the CMS platforms these days have the ability to massage your content with AI once you're inside the platform. And a little bit of feedback that we've got from customers is that they've already done that work. So they're using Claude or OpenAI or whatever tool set they're using. They're creating their content. They're putting it into Google Sheets or Word document. Someone's approving it. Then they're going through a process of moving it into the CMS and publishing it. Well, what agents can do is connect that native origin source of the content directly into the CMS. And one example of that that's really awesome is, I'm not sure how many folks that are listening to this now or later use a headless CMS. We love Agility CMS, and Agility allows us to use its APIs to connect to other systems, like the one that I just showed you, that allows the authors to be managing and creating their content in one place that they're really used to. And we can connect that directly to go into Agility and get published, which is really awesome. So we're always trying to figure out what is the unique situation that our customers are in, where they're creating their content. How can we make their life easier, streamline their workflows? And that's a great use of kind of an agentic situation. And essentially, we're looking at streamlining any kind of operations that are done more than once with some kind of agentic workflow. Yeah, what are you seeing out there, Janice?
I'm seeing within some CMS partners where they're integrating, if not AI, some sort of automation tooling to kind of make things faster. This is more on the development side, but like I know one of our partners recently launched like an integration with Figma, so that in the past, what would happen is a developer would take a Figma design and then manually build out all the components into a CMS. And that's the part that takes the most time. So, as a marketer, you're out there like, well, we have the design. Why does it take so long? Think about a developer has to like build everything into
within some CMS partners where they're integrating.
Oops, that's me.
AI
sorry. Sort of automation.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought that was me. That was like feedback.
No, that was another.
But I think it's a really cool development and just really forward thinking, because what happens is like the developer now can just go into Figma. I believe they integrate with, there's some sort of public plugin that's native to the CMS. And then the plugin actually allows them to just lift the design and ports it straight into the CMS to them to develop. I actually asked my developers about that. We haven't tried it yet because apparently that was a very new feature. But like now, the developers would love that. Like, hey, that makes my life easier. I don't have to like manually compare this Figma design into where I'm coding, but I go straight in. And it does, those create a lot of time savings. And ultimately for like clients, you get your website faster, or you get your application faster. So there are things also happening in the back end that maybe from a client facing, like a marketer standpoint, they may not see is happening, but it's good to know about these changes because you can understand and see, maybe ask your teams like, hey, what software are you using? Are they using some sort of automation tooling that can expedite these things? So it's good to be aware of these things, not necessarily to understand how it works, because I don't understand how all the details work, but I need to know enough so that I can have these conversations. So I think that's important to know.
From your perspective and feedback that you get from customers, how do they feel about AI? Are they embracing? Are they tentative? What's the weather out there?
So people that I've spoken to individually, I think they're excited. They're also a little bit, I would say, just a little bit gun shy and maybe intimidated, because I think a lot of the language out there is geared towards very technical folk. So, MCP, RAG, all these terms that seem like, oh, I can't get ahead of it. I think simply put, like if you have an interest in AI or you just want to know how it can make work life better, it's good to just kind of play and be comfortable in finding spaces that allow that. Those are just amongst the people that I have talked to. I think they seem interested. They just kind of don't know where to start. if I'm talking on a bigger stage, last week I was at a event where it was full of enterprise CMOs. So we're talking like TD, Kraft, Canadian Tire. There was a panel. This is public information, but when asked about, where are your organizations in the process of, adopting AI or integrating into your systems, a lot of them kind of took a wait and see attitude, which was interesting. Like, they know it's important, and I think they understand how relevant it could be, but they're also massive organizations. And I think the reality is to implement a small change is a huge undertaking. And so they're kind of in a way trying to figure out what's the best way to implement these tools. So I say wait and see. Obviously, I'm not in those conversations behind closed doors. There may be some other discussions going on. I suspect that they're probably integrating it in pockets of the organization, but maybe it's not broadly distributed. My guess is that they're probably enabling people to use, for enterprise, to be like, use Copilot, use Gemini, or whatever it is, the tools that come, part of their systems and platforms. But beyond that, I don't know how deeply those tooling, like automation tooling, is being integrated.
Well, one of the examples that I know of, we have some friends at one of the major telcos in Canada, and they really adopted AI early. And their main concern was governance over their information. So they didn't want to be just uploading all their corporate documents and customer service information into a model that didn't have really strict governance. So they actually have their own internal enterprise model, and they've really encouraged all teams to be experimenting and exploring. But what are your thoughts on governance or concerns, or what should CMOs be thinking about when they're now tasked to take on implementation of AI?
Yeah, that's an interesting conversation. Again, that came up for a debate with some AI enthusiasts and colleagues, because as we know, there's actually no public form of governance today. Like, I think with the most recent administration, they said they're going to actually, in Canada, start looking into AI, but there's no policy. There's no there are no rules. It's kind of like the wild, wild west right now. So it's, I would say, self-governed. And so I would think that it's up to the organization's leadership team to really set the tone for what that means. There's this balance between how much should you govern and be strict versus how much creativity do you want to allow to flourish, right? So there's kind of like a balance. And I don't know if my perspective is like, let creativity flourish as much as possible without doing any overt harm to anyone or anything. But that's also very subjective, right, in some cases. So I think that's kind of hard to distinguish. I know you and I probably have had conversations about that. Like, what would you say around governance for AI?
Yeah, well, you need to protect your data and, quite frankly, your prompts as well. Those prompts become an important piece of your kind of content arsenal in a way. And a lot of the ways that we're seeing the future of the web is that a lot of the content is going to be generated to a large degree by AI. And I think right now we're in a state of time where copy and images are being kind of manually produced, and they're getting to publishing state more quickly. But we see the future is that someone hits the website and agents are spinning up ultra hyper personalized unique content on the fly,
right,
referencing what we would call the brand prompt. And I think that brand prompt library needs to be as secure as the information that it's kind of understanding as a knowledge base. But speaking about personalization, I know that was on your mind. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of how AI is helping in personalization in general?
For sure. What we've seen actually, what we've been doing is, and taking it back to websites specifically, a lot of our, there's been some conversation out there is that, how does AI impact or agents impact websites? Are websites still relevant in this world where AI is changing things a lot? My short answer to that is yes. I think for any marketer up there, your website still is your platform, the place where you go to showcase your brand, talk about the personality, services, things like that. I think what AI is going to help do is start engaging your audience a lot more in a different kind of way. So one of the things that we've talked about here at Dotfusion, and what's been really cool, is like, how can we custom, like enhance a website that's already there? And so maybe you can like fire up, and I can talk about a little bit about these voice agents. But the idea is you can create engaging experiences with your users or people that visit to your site that you wouldn't have had in the past. So what we looked for was an opportunity to take that old idea of like, hey, you have like a chatbot or something sitting on your website. And I think a lot of times when people think about chatbots, at least I used to, it's like you type in text and then you get a bunch of lists of prompts and they give you like, choose one of these 3 things. It's not really engaging much. It's like, okay, it's very transactional almost. But I think a lot of the AI today has unlocked a lot of capabilities to make that a more human-like interaction. And it's pretty cool. So
Yeah, and to your point, voice is now part of your content library. And how do you manage and govern all that as well? And we've been doing some experimenting with very advanced voice agents. And we've actually got to the point where we can have the agents change languages on the fly. And it's really cool. Maybe I'll just show a quick example of how this all works, just hoping that my audio works right. So we're tooling a demonstration for a shopping center, and I'll kind of just show you an example of how this is not only kind of replacing humans from a customer service perspective, but it just has infinite knowledge. And let me just give me a sign that you can hear this.
Welcome to Yorkdale Shopping Center, Toronto's premier fashion destination. I'm Samantha, your personal concierge. I can help you with store locations, dining options, event details, parking information, and more. What can I help you with today?
Oh, could you tell me the center hours today?
Sure. The hours today are Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Please note we are closed on statutory holidays such as Canada Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Day. Is there anything else I can assist you with?
Yeah, I'm just really curious, like, how do I get to the Apple Store?
Certainly. The Apple Store is located on the ground level of Yorkdale Shopping Center. To find it easily, you can use Yorkdale's online map, or if you're already here, you can look for directional signs. The store is close to the central area of the mall. If you need more detailed directions, you can visit yorkdale.com or contact guest services at 6477497467. Can I assist you with anything else?
Yeah, speak Mandarin.
当然可以，我会中文，中文有分部需要帮忙的吗？
So all that to say that things are progressing really quickly along all forms of content, and how AI is impacting the entire experiences. So yeah, the sky is really the limit. Janice, do you want to talk a little bit about maybe how that's impacting teams? And we can maybe speak about our teams internally and some of the really big changes that have happened over the past 6 months.
Sure. Internally, we're using a lot of AI tooling and automation just to speed up productivity and just like I would say, what do you call that? Ludicrous drive our team, which is basically, I'll give you an example. I was submitting for an RFP, something, you know, how long these documents are. Usually it will take you, I don't know, like a week and a half to just get through the material, respond to it. I think I did an RFP response in about 3 days. And that's 3 days not dedicated to it, but a combination of being able to feed AI the contents of the RFP, the request, and then just doing some very intelligent prompting to understand, like, I knew what I needed it to create in terms of an output. So it was almost having like a RFP writer or a right-hand person really helping me do all the, I want to say the grunt work, but really all the heavy lifting. And so what I've found that AI has really helped us is our team is, I call it small and mighty. We have a lot of senior people. So what AI is, it's providing this, it's almost like a junior development, a junior content, a junior designer team where we can quickly spin up prototypes, materials, and then we use our strategic level and senior level people to really review and see and adjust things as needed. Like it'd just be like if you had junior team members on your team, and we're just performing in the same way, and it's just happening a lot faster. That's one thing I noticed from a productivity standpoint, and that is across marketing, whether it's us promoting our these podcasts, getting our socials up to date, creating case studies, design, or even development and deployment. So just lots of great productivity. And then on top of that, we're all really excited because I think we are in a unique position where we get excited by new technology things, right? Like we want to know what's at the forefront. We get that not everyone isn't, but it's almost like we're happy to be those, I want to say, technology guides for folks that maybe don't have the time or the technical expertise to dive into things. Like we love doing that. So
yeah, and when you talk about the facets of our business that are being impacted from marketing, operations, design, and dev and strategy, that's kind of our core pillars here. It's really impact all of those. And something that I found really interesting is how quickly these tools are maturing. So we've gone through, hey, look, I made a cool image of a dragon or something eating ice cream, to fully deploying prototypes that kind of are now the assistants to our UX team, or fast tracking code from our development team as they've kind of all adopted to AI tools to make things move quickly. And I think we're in this like interesting stage where the automation aspect of agents that are supporting our team are they're like half baked, but it went from 0 to half baked in no time at all. So we need to, it's almost given us a little bit of extra work to do, because not only do we need to be shipping products for our customers, we need to have one eye kind of like on, what's next and what's new. And we're starting to develop processes around those, because there's so many options and different tool sets out there that you need to kind of have a bit of a focus and a plan to make sure that you're staying current, but you're still getting work done. So I think we're in this stage right now where there's a lot of excitement, a lot of new things to be engaging with. So we're probably, for the next year or so, we're still operating in old school mode where we need to think through, design, develop, and ship, but with an eye to new school mode, which is prompt agents, get prototypes and kind of first drafts of things ready, and then we just polish off. But it won't be long before things are 90% baked, I think. Did you want to, I know we were talking a little bit earlier about MCP servers, and we spoke to our CMS partners, and they're looking at developing MCP servers, and I think this is a buzzword that's been throwing around a little bit. Do you want to explain that a bit to anyone who's listening?
Okay, I will do my best to describe what that means. So MCP servers, it's a fancy term. It stands for Model Context Protocol. And so what it is a protocol that allows AI models to securely connect to external data sources through some standard server connections. And I sourced that from Claude. So just letting everybody know that I actually did that because I wanted to explain it. Essentially, it's still new to me personally, and I know that developers are starting. Some I guess forward-thinking developers are already starting to use MCP servers. They're just basically connectors that allow agents to talk to other agents.
Yeah.
And so you're basically leapfrogging, like, do I need to build an integration from this CMS to this particular thing? I don't know, like the example I gave you was the Figma one, but like, can Figma talk directly to a headless CMS without a dev spending hours coupling those things together? It's funny because like a lot of these MCP servers are now out there in the wild. They're open source, they're free, because they want people to start using them and adopting them. So there's this other world of MCP servers that are allowing anybody who's technically inclined to connect different agents together to actually do work faster. So that is a benefit to any clients that are looking to build websites. Like, you should be asking your partners, hey, do you work with MCP servers? Like, how can you make this faster for me? Because maybe in the past, let's say a website would take, 6 to 8 months to build. It's just time. it's hours and effort. Development is usually the longest stretch, but now maybe making it up, maybe you can reduce that to half, because so much of the work is heavy lifting is already being done by MCP servers, some automation tools, whatever it is. So you're not sacrificing the product quality, you're just getting it in half the time.
Yeah, and we're starting to see that from a customer perspective, in that they're aware of what's going on, and we have to react to that, because there's an expectation now that we're shipping products faster, but at higher or better quality, because they know that we have these tools. So we have to manage that properly. And one example that we were helping a customer out with is a model where they could continue to use Trello as their kind of content editing environment. So they'd have content being moved through Trello cards. We set up an MCP server to connect Trello directly to be deployed onto the CMS platform and onto the website. So you move a card into ready to go. The agents are waiting for that signal, takes the content, updates the image and the copy there. So this is all happening. I think right now there's less development overhead required, but there's still a little bit of development that's required. So we need senior folks to be kind of managing that. And I think there's great opportunities for folks that are new to the technology industry to be jumping in as prompt engineers and providing oversight. You know, there's a lot of discussion around, you know, job security and what are the jobs of the future. And while there may not be such an emphasis on, you know, becoming a JavaScript expert, let's say, but you still need to know how it all works, as if you would be a manager, knowing how, you know, someone newer is doing their work, and how to validate all of that as well. From a user engagement perspective, do you think there's demands from users for different kinds of content to be on websites, or you know, what's their expectation, or is the demand higher because they're assuming that brands are using AI, so they expect something new all the time?
Yeah, I definitely think depends who you ask. Let's talk about like age groups and like demographics. I think I was talking to a friend the other day and she's like, oh, I still use Google for all my searches. I was like, oh, interesting. But I think I think customers in general are getting more savvy, and they know that AI is being used in a lot of places. So I think the expectation, if you were to engage a user on your website, definitely I would expect some level of personalization, some way to engage me more than just share, you know, it's not a one-way knowledge transfer, right? And I think with a lot of websites, and if I think about B2B today, that's kind of how it is. Is there a way to kind of bring in your user more to engage with you, to showcase your personality, your brand personality more, and like get the customers, like that's how you're going to build loyalty. Like your website is basically now your frontline, almost staff member that is engaging your audience. If they've arrived at your website, they got there somehow. So they want to know more about you. So how do you do that?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's what I want to say. Like, I think there's so many things that we've started looking at, but maybe there's definitely going to be more. And as time goes by and we know what agents are capable of, there's going to be more opportunities to unlock different things. Personalization is already kind of the starting point. But I'm also, you know, people come to a site at all times of the day. Like, you're not going to be just working there 9 to 5 and expecting somebody to be able to answer your questions. It'll be instantaneous. I think the demand is going to be a lot higher.
Yeah, it's true. Lots to be thinking about. Man, time goes by pretty quickly, but I've got a lot of questions about AI's impact in our kind of shipping process, and how do you get prototypes to the market really quickly. And I just wanted to highlight one product we're working on, which it's essentially a website that will help people with boats find someone to fix their boat. Right? There's a problem in the market, and normally what we would do is go through a fairly intensive intake period with the customer, spend 6 to 8 weeks building a prototype, do all the data architecture. And the example I'm going to show right now is something that took us, only, less than a week to build. And this is the entire prototype for this product. So there's an AI chat that kind of answers your questions. There's this idea of finding an expert and linking to them and search, sort, and filtering them all out. You can get a video consultation. There's a dashboard. And then what we've thrown in here for demonstration purposes on our end is we've created an area where we can be constantly updating our prompts, because the prompts are really governing everything in the behavior of this dynamic tool. So what I'm highlighting here is not only did AI build this, although the prompt engineering and the systems architecture needed to be pumped into AI, but it's also operating the website. It's not just kind of looking through hard-coded instructions on how to behave, but it's actually able to dynamically interact with the user on the front end. So that's pretty cool stuff too. And it just speaks to, one, this amazing point in time where folks with ideas for digital products can get them out in the market like fairly quickly, just to kind of test the proof of their concept. And if they have some signals that there's traction, then they can polish it off and finish it and take it to market. So it's a really great time where you're not, blocked by large development teams to get an idea out there.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who made a moment to drop by today. Janice, any closing comments that you might have?
No, I would say for anyone who's interested or feeling a little bit hesitant about just jumping in with 2 feet, I would say just start small. You don't need to know the next craziest thing, but just start with what you know. And if you don't know, you can always ask a friend. I'm here. I can kind of direct you to as a starting point, because if I think about my journey, and AI has been around for a little while now, but I think it's really just rapidly gained momentum in the last 6 months or so. There's a lot going on. Tech Week in Toronto is next week, so there's going to be a lot going on there as well. I would say if you YouTube search anything, just get the basics right. Don't try to learn the next craziest thing, because you'll never be able to catch up. But I think just start small. Like with anything, you will take your first step. And then from that first step, you'll find out what is interesting to you that will unlock another step. And then I don't think there's any real AI experts out there, because the landscape is rapidly changing so much, but I call myself an AI enthusiast.
That's a good way to put it. We're out of time. I just wanted to thank you for making some time in your busy schedule to join us for a special edition.
Thank you. This was fun.
Where we kind of talking about how AI impacts content and websites and even our internal team workflows. It's been a pleasure hosting. We go live every Thursday with Beyond the CMS, where we talk about anything to do with the current and future state of content. Thanks for listening, and have a great Thursday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.